Okay, something is happening to both sides right now, you guys. You have the status quo, which is on the left, corporate Dems, and then you have economic populist Dems saying, we're tired of the status quo. Y'all feel like conservatives. You're not fighting the fight. We're moving ahead without you. And on the right, you kind of have the same thing. You have all the MAGA sycophants, but then you have some people within the MAGA movement who are positioning themselves in a post-Kanks America. Thank God we can at some point say post-Kanks, because this fucker isn't going to live forever. But this episode, I want to focus on the left. And I want to remind everybody that we have a candidate on the left, Zoran Mamdani, who is really, really, really good at campaigning. Is he going to be great at governing? I don't know. I sure hope so. But I do know that New Yorkers are ready to try something different. They don't want somebody who sexually abuses and harasses women and sent senior citizens off to die in nursing homes. They don't want a criminal like Eric Adams that does quid pro quos with Trump. And they're willing to try something entirely different. 26 billionaires have spent millions and millions of dollars because they're terrified of Zoran Mamdani. And the more they campaign against him, the more popular he gets. So you would think that the Democratic establishment, which is abysmal in polling, abysmal, you would think that they would be all chips in on saying, you know what, this guy's a little bit further to the left than we are, but he won a free and fair election, and we are about that. Mm-hmm. And it seems like he's exciting a lot of people. So here's Hakeem Jeffries, you guys, a guy who wants to be Speaker of the House, over the weekend asked about Zoran. Play the clip.
Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party?
No, I think the future of the Democratic Party is going to fall, as far as we're concerned, relative to the House Democratic Caucus and members who are doing a great work all across the country as it relates to our need to both take back control of the House, but in doing so, make sure that we're communicating to the American people like, we understand you deserve better than the country that you have received.
What did that mean? I mean, talk about word salad.
I mean, after like two or three, I am just like, what is he saying? What is he talking about? And it is so dismissive to people within the Democratic Party to not acknowledge that I see that he has fired up people in New York and beyond. I see that a lot of people that are registered Democrats see the excitement surrounding this guy, and it's an exciting time for our party. Instead, we got, I don't even know what the fuck he just said, other than he thinks the future of the Democratic Party is somehow him being Speaker of the House, kind of what it sounded like to me in a roundabout way.
Yeah, like I have no idea what he meant. This was a missed opportunity. Again and again and again, you see missed opportunities. It's an opportunity to say, Mamdani has galvanized people because he has a populist message. We need to get back to affordability. We need to show the middle class we have a plan for them. We need to get out there and tell them what our populist message is. But he doesn't. He doesn't.
No, he doesn't, because he is beholden to the same corporations that are paying Andrew Cuomo. He's beholden to the same 26 billionaires that are having a stage 5 meltdown, that the government might not be perfectly set up for them to have all of the loopholes and all of the perks, bells and whistles that they are accustomed to. And there's another component of this that's super important. There's the money factor, but there also is this factor that we've all been indoctrinated to believe Muslim, misogynist, terrorists. Right. And the 9/11 and other events exacerbated that stereotype. In Zoran Mamdani, you have a person that is a Muslim that's super progressive. So much so that when he was at the gay pride parade, he didn't just have a rainbow flag, he had a trans flag. And this goes at the very heart of how we've all been propagandized to be Islamophobic. Right. Because we are told that all Muslims are this way. And that's simply not the case. It is simply not the case. There are hundreds of thousands of Muslims across the United States that are not terrorists, that aren't even extreme religious. And he is a bow in all of that, a bow and arrow in all of that, and it terrifies them. All right. So here is something I found of very important. Jake Tapper of CNN. He was on a podcast recently talking about his opinion that Gen Z is going to grow up to be more conservative because of progressive politics in school. Play the clip.
Gen Z is going to be a lot more conservative. I think that just from my experience knowing Gen Z kids, my kids and their friends and whatever, I sense much more skepticism of, and I think it is a reaction to Gen Xers and millennials forcing on them progressive views in school. And I think that there's going to be, I think there are going to be some conservatives. This is my general impression.
Yeah.
I don't fight.
That was an early read. That was an early.
Okay. Let me just say that this is something that is a complete myth. The reality is, you guys, in red states, they are forcing a Christian nationalist, whitewashed version of American history. In our home state of Oklahoma, 10 Commandments, Trump Bibles, forced patriotism, banned books. And so it is intellectually dishonest of Jake Tapper. And in any other world, a lot of this would be his obituary. The fact that he covered Joe Biden in his age, which is fair, that is fair to cover that. I'm not one of these Dems that's going to say, oh, we can't criticize Joe Biden. He was old as shit and we all saw it. And the debate was a disaster. So it's completely fair to cover that. But where is the coverage of the active and ongoing pervasive dementia that we see in Kanks? Furthermore, it is intellectually dishonest and further exposes the great divide that we see down the electorate and that we see everybody in these silos, that he and his East Coast experience is experiencing one thing, and that is that your children, Jake Tapper, no books are being banned in their lives. They are being taught about both sides of issues and encouraged critical thinking. And then in all of these Bible Belt states and beyond, you have a forced Christian nationalist education in public schools. And sadly, lots and lots and lots of parents, the public school indoctrination isn't enough, are choosing to spend $20,000 to $40,000 annually to make sure their kids go to a white supremacist school, wherein that school is completely exempt from paying taxes. And they are taught that gay marriage is a sin, masturbation is a sin, DEI is absolutely horrible. They're not taught any compassion, any empathy. And these are full-blown private hate academies that act with impunity and teach racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. And they are everywhere. So if we're going to have a conversation about education, Jake Tapper, let's have a fair and honest conversation about it, because there is a real problem in red states where, by the way, most of these red states are ranked bottom 10 academically, right, Pomps?
Well, pretty much in every category, they're ranked at the bottom, except poverty and crime. And then they're at the top. But, you know, Jake, what I believe is that the younger generation, these Gen Zers, they are more conservative because they're siloed, they're isolated, they have their parents and their church, and that's a generational thing, but they're so isolated on the internet and they become radicalized, like they can go down all these rabbit holes. I think a lot of money should be spent to what are these kids seeing on the internet, right and left? How can we make them feel they're more part of a community? And my biggest fear particular about the Trump whole, the generations that come after is that politics when we were growing up was boring because you had adult, responsible, serious people in jobs. And now you have a complete fucking clown show. And, everybody thinks Trump's so funny. I'm afraid the younger generation is going to see somebody as ineffective if they're serious and an expert versus just a fucking buffoon.
Well, and also it's important to point out that Jake Tapper, as a journalist, has access to polling, and what he said is patently false. Gen Z support in MAGA has completely collapsed. And you see, like you have with all previous generations, they are more progressive than the generation prior to them. And there is poll after poll after poll that shows an absolute collapse in Gen Z conservatism. So not only is he not being honest, he's probably willfully somewhat lying here and promoting propaganda, which he recently had on Scott Bassett on his CNN show, and asked him a question about Kank spending all this money for his Marie Antoinette Halloween party. And he said, well, Barack Obama played more golf, which was a lie. And Jake Tapper didn't even push back on that. And in any other world where we valued the truth and we valued journalism, the fact that he hasn't given Donald Trump's dementia a fair coverage that he did Joe Biden's, and the fact that he isn't talking about on the same side what is happening, the radicalization in public schools in states like Oklahoma, which is leading to the defunding and lower test scores and being ranked 50th in the country. It is intellectually dishonest. So from soup to nuts, this guy is clearly being exposed as having his own personal biases, yet at the same time, he wants to be taken as a serious journalist. And then he spits out one version that is only geographically centered as to where he is and an anecdotal nature for his kids only, which all of the polling and every bit of data that we have seen shows the opposite of his premise there. And then moving along back to Zoran and Hakeem. So Zoran on Saturday night, he goes to 5 bars at 1 a.m. in Manhattan. And they're like a Latino bar. And here is Zoran at a bar in Brooklyn, a gay bar. And listen to this.
Are we ready to beat Andrew Cuomo? Are we ready to win a city we can afford? Are we ready to make history? Let's go out there and do it. Thank you, my friend.
Okay. So what is he? Is he a radical jihadist or a partier with gay people that waves a trans flag? This guy is brilliant. He is excellent at campaigning. I mean, excellent. The fact that at 1 a.m. he's out doing a bar crawl and firing up New Yorkers to go vote for him is a masterclass. And then 2 days prior to that, Pumps, I saw him at some senior center online doing Tai Chi. Did you see that?
No,
he's like doing
it.
Tai Chi with all these seniors and stuff. And he is always doing this with a smile on his face. Right. He doesn't change his message that billionaires have had enough breaks. I'm fighting for all New Yorkers. I'm fighting for the workers. And it is a very, very popular message. And he takes it at 1 a.m. to gay bars. He takes it to the senior Tai Chi class. He was at the marathon yesterday, Pumps. The runners stopped running and stopped to go take a selfie with him. And then, which would clearly make their time. He is an absolute sensation.
Yes. And
the Hakeems, and the reason Jake Tapper's even thrown into this episode is to show you guys that there's this status quo in corporations. And you have the Hakeem Jeffries that wants to advocate for corporations, and Jake Tapper, who is a part of that same machine. And then you have people on the right that are all part of that same machine. And that's why you can hear people say, I don't see that big of a difference between the parties. because they all feel corporate. And then you have a guy like Zoran that is out at a bar, 5 different bars on Monday night, and other videos I can't play because they have songs in them. Pumps, he's like dancing and he's cool and he's doing all the moves. I mean, it's exciting.
It's
It's
exciting.
exciting to have somebody cool in politics again.
Well, we haven't seen anybody with Zoran's talent and ability since Barack Obama, in my opinion. That's the closest thing I can compare it to. And we know the Democratic establishment they didn't think Barack Obama had enough seniority or whatever the other issues. So what that tells me is the Democratic establishment that's lost the last, 2 elections, presidential in 2024, the House and the Senate, they need to take a back seat and learn some lessons.
Well, and Pumps, I mean, you hit on something really important there about Obama. The Democratic establishment fought tooth and nail against him. He was a little brown. Middle name was a little Muslim-y.
Right.
It didn't seem quite, the profile that everybody, the status quo, was comfortable with. And he had a horrible primary with Hillary Clinton. I mean, it was so bad that she was shocked as shit. It was so adversarial. She was shocked as shit when he asked her to be Secretary of State, because that's how adversarial it was. And that's how much people underestimated him. And the same is happening with Zoran. And it's such a shame that the House minority leader from New York, and then Chuckles, the Senate leader. I mean, talk about worthless. Here's my new worthless American list, Pumps.
Okay.
Number 1, I'm going to always go with little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson.
Obviously.
Number 2, I'm putting Chuck Schumer
Over Hakeem?
Yeah, I am, because I haven't. I mean, we're splitting hairs here, but I want to leave you with somebody who is not a worthless American. I want to play this clip before we end this episode. And this is JB Pritzker, who to me, I just fucking love. Fucking love this attitude. Play the clip.
Books are being banned. History is being erased. Republicans want to take billions away from public schools and pump it into private institutions. They want to punish teachers for telling the truth. They want to criminalize educators for supporting LGBTQ students. They want to turn classrooms into cultural war battlegrounds. And I'm sorry to be vulgar, but Donald Trump and his cronies can fuck all the way off.
I love that.
All right. And speaking of banned books, please help us get our book banned by buying it. Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. It's a great way to support our podcast. Subscribe to this channel, comment, feed the algorithm, and we'll be back later with more news.